believe it or not, there are apparently more Puerto Ricans living outside of Puerto Rico than here on the island. By one estimate that I found, it said that there's 5.83 million Puerto Ricans living in the broader part of the United States, the continental US, and on the island about 3 million. So this video is for folks, whether you're Puerto Rican and you grew up some other place, whether you're Sorta RIcan and you lived in a Puerto Rican household listening to Spanish your whole life, but maybe don't speak it that fluently. Maybe you're Latino from a different country and you want to come to Puerto Rico, or maybe you just love Latin culture, or maybe you just like warm beaches and you want to come to Puerto Rico and you're looking to purchase some real estate. This video is for you. This video is to help you with a little bit of the vocabulary that you might encounter when you come to the island to make a purchase. Okay, a little disclaimer is that I am not a native Spanish speaker. I have been studying and loving learning Spanish for the better part of 10 years. But I grew up originally in Central Florida on the East Coast in a town called Satellite Beach. Obviously, there was lots of Latin folks and families that I grew up with, but the extent of my Spanish before really starting to study it was basically like, hey, let's go for some tacos. Like it was very, very poor before I started learning. But thankfully, I moved to live and work in Bogota, Colombia, donde están mis rolos. Colombia is a superb place to learn Spanish. They're very proud of the Spanish there. They have a clear accent that was helpful for me to learn. And then I moved to Puerto Rico and have loved learning the accent and the dialect here. Super rich, very, very interesting, the differences and been fascinating to learn. But take what I'm gonna put in this video with a grain of salt. It's just supposed to be meant to help anybody who is coming to Puerto Rico to look for real estate. So for the list of words that I've chosen, I just figured these would be like the most common terms that you're going to hear or see or that you could use in common conversations, or maybe if you're texting an agent or whatever it may be. So this is not a comprehensive list, obviously. It's just like a list of the top 10 or 11 terms, and I'll try to even use them in a sentence and or give some additional context. Okay, here we go. So the first one is going to be, how do you say real estate? In Puerto Rico, like in many other Latin countries, they just say bienes raíces. And so in a sentence that would sound like, estoy interesado en bienes raíces. Another very common term here on the island is opcionada. You might hear, for example, if you're going through Clasificados, which is an online website, I'll put a link in the description. It's a great resource. It's free, it's open source, and you're able to just go in, kind of dip your toe in the water and see what's out there. It's very likely that you might see that a house is optioned. La casa ya está opcionada. That means that house is under contract, right? So that means they received an offer, which they then accepted, and then they've signed a contract. That's what it's going to mean if you see a house is opcionada, which is essentially off the market, but they haven't closed yet. Another very common term that you're likely to see is CRIM, which is spelled in all caps C-R-I-M. That is an acronym. That's essentially like the property tax collector here on the island. What it stands for is Centro de Recaudación de Ingresos Municipales, which means collection center for municipal revenue, their property tax collection. So there's a really good link that I'll put also in the description, which is to a map where if you have the address of a property, or if you just want to like scroll through the map and look and click on a place, or if you have what's the next term is catastro. Catastro is cadaster, literal translation, which is an English word that I didn't know until I heard this word catastro, and I kept being like, what is that? A catastro is a register of properties and their values and different descriptions. So the CRIM has a website that's a map where you can go in and you can actually like find a specific property and see information about the owner. You can see information about, it's on the map. It shows like where the boundaries of that property actually are. So it can be a really good resource, especially if you have the catastro number, which is essentially like the unique identification number for every real estate property here on the island. Another common one here on the island is the word for down payment, which is aportación. Aportación is down payment, but in other places, sometimes I'll speak with clients from other places and I'll hear them call it a pronto, or some people just call it un down payment, like literally. So, that's one that can go a couple different ways. But aportación, ¿a cuánto será tu aportación? How much will be your down payment? So hopefully that one's helpful for you. So let's say you made an offer, you went under contract, now the house is opcionada, and you're working towards getting to the closing. The word for closing is cierre, very direct translation. To use it in a sentence, ya logramos el cierre, vámonos para una birra. We achieved the closing, let's go for a beer. Another common term you're likely to hear is chavo, which is the Puerto Rican word for money. You're gonna hear that one at least as often as you might hear dinero. If you say dinero to mean money, everybody's gonna know what you're talking about. But here on the island, people, at least the people that I've been speaking with, they say chavo more often. So to use it in a sentence, it could be something like, ¿Tú tienes chavo para hacer todo eso? Which would be asking, do you have money to do all of that? So hopefully that one's helpful for you. Another one you're likely to encounter, especially if you're looking for financing on the island, is the word interés, which sounds just like its English counterpart, interest. So to use it in a sentence could be something like, ¿Cómo se ve el interés de mi escenario? How does the interest look for my scenario? Another important term to know here on the island is the word for real estate agent, which is corredor, or if they're feminine, corredora. That's a really good one. You might also hear realtor. Sometimes that's for realtor. That sometimes is used interchangeably, just like in the mainland U.S. That realtor versus real estate agent might get thrown around. Keep in mind, if somebody advertises themselves as a realtor, un realtor, that means that they've gone and taken additional tests and that they're held to a different ethical standard than somebody who's a real estate agent. It's also important to notice sometimes people identify themselves as a broker, un broker. So that's very common here on the island as well. Another important one to know would be the word for mortgage. On the island, it's hipoteca. It's spelled with an H, but in Spanish, the H's at the beginning of a word are silent, like for hola. You don't say hola. You would just imagine that the H isn't there. Like in English, we have lots of silent letters. Spanish has almost no silent letters. The H at the beginning of a word is literally probably the only example I can think of a letter being in a Spanish word that doesn't have a sound. So, but hipoteca, to use it in a sentence, quiero solicitar una hipoteca. You might also hear it pronounced as préstamo hipotecario. That would be, préstamo is the word for loan, hipotecario would be like the adjective saying that it's a mortgage loan. And finally, another really good one to know is the word for appraisal is tasación. To use it in a sentence might be something like, no chacho, la tasación salió bien cabrón, which would be a very kind of strong way to say that a property did not appraise very well. Hopefully you don't ever have to say that. Hopefully you can use the word tasación in a better context. But the word for the person that does the appraisal is tasador. So there you have those two terms. All right, everybody, those are the list of words that I think would be most helpful for somebody coming to the island to try to purchase some real estate, whether you're a gringo like me, whether you're Sorta RIcan and coming back to the island looking for a piece of the motherland, or a lo mejor tú eres nativo, boricua, estás buscando propiedades. Hopefully you find those terms helpful for your search. If I missed a term, if there's one that you're seeing a lot and I didn't mention it here, or one that you think I should have mentioned, please put a comment down below. I'll be happy to either look it up if I don't know it and learn it with you, or just have that conversation and keep figuring out what are the most common terms to help people get their deals done. But also too, if you're wanting to know what you can get pre-qualified for, if you're wanting to know what needs to be done to get you pre-qualified, click on that link in the description. I'll be happy to do a free financial analysis for you. And, no charge. It's painless. It's free. It's not that hard. And you can figure out how to make your goals a reality. So anyway, guys, Nate Stewart, Gringo Criollo here. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.